Paladins' newest champion Terminus has just been announced, and their title is The Fallen. He's a frontline and officially now the biggest champion in the realm, quite literally hulking above the rest. Also the first champion to be able to rise again, I'll come back to that a bit later, plus the first mainly melee weapon champion since the closed beta Grover. There was a little bit of lore revealed on the dev stream, and that was that they're the same race as Inara, the Scarlett, but this champion has been brought back to life by the magistrate of this race and is now following all of their orders. Looks-wise, he's a hulking monstrosity of a golem held together by shattered crystals and has a huge war axe. It really reminds me of Thanos from Guardians of the Galaxy, and just as the embodiment of strength and power, and his voice pack really reflects that. His health shown on the stream was 5,200, so very much up there with the tankiest of the tanks, and his main weapon is the Massacre Axe, and is huge. It does 700 damage a swing and is a melee attack, so there isn't too much to talk about other than you're just whacking your enemies that are in front of you and trying to close the gap and get as close as possible, and you're pretty much just a big brawler. Now, to complement the fact that he is a melee champion, and Paladins devs have said for a long time now they were worried about melee champions not being able to engage at range, he has an ult fire called Calamity Blast. What this is a little blast, and it has a low cooldown of 2 seconds, and is a projectile that does 250 damage, which complements his melee weapon's downsides of obviously needing to be right in somebody's face to do damage. The actual blast he sends out is the same color of purple as your crystals, and actually looks a lot like the Torvald default blasts. Now this can be buffed by a legendary card to give an extra 100 damage per each of these blasts, and I'll come back to that later on why that's important. His first main ability is Power Siphon. It puts up a shield in front of him, very much like Reversal in that it basically absorbs damage and translates that into something else. However, this one holds the charge of the attacks you absorb. You don't instantly fire it back like in Drux's Reversal, and basically you can get up to 4 extra shots with your Calamity Blast, which is your ult fire, and default with the 5 shots with the 4 extra shots you'll be getting 1,250 damage in total if you hit them all, which is pretty insane. And again, that can be buffed up with the legendary card for 100 extra each, so an extra 500 if you get all of these. And this Power Siphon has resources like strict invisibility. There's no strict cooldown, so the ability just recharges itself up again, and each of these little charges of crystals is a shot themselves, up to those 4 shots, and each charges around 1,200 damage. You can see how many charges you have in the HUD element and how much charge of the ability itself and time you can use it with a resource bar next to those little crystals which each represent the shots. You can't break the shield with Wrecker or hitting it, so it works almost exactly like Androx's Reversal that way, but like Reversal, the big downside is that it slows you down. His second ability, and this one is epic, is his movement ability called Shatterfall, which leaves you in an arc very much like Ash's ultimate if you watch him jump up, but visually you swing your axe around and smash the enemies in front of you, and what it also does is it slows them down. So it does 500 damage, and with the legendary card, instead of that slow, you can switch that for a 1-second stun instead of that. It does have a long cooldown though, so using this will be very tactical, but also extremely epic. Finally, the big badaboom, the ultimate, is Reanimation. This is the first revival, the first back from the dead ability to come to the game, and what it does is when you bring your ultimate to full charge, you can't actually use this ability, whilst you're alive at least. So what happens is, you die, and it doesn't offset your respawn time or anything, but you have 4 seconds after you die to trigger your resurrection if you want to use it. And if you do use it, what happens is you repiece yourself back together, almost like a terracotta army man that's been smashed up and putting yourself back together again. And once you've done that, you explode, dealing 4,000 damage to enemies. It does hit into shields though, but the blast is around 50 feet, a similar size to the Dread Serpent with the radius too. And to top that off, you're also on full health. This is a huge point-winning ultimate right there, and not only that, but the ultimate is one of the big hitters in the game going forward here, and also gives a lot of survivability to this Terminus if they come into trouble. So coming back to the legendary cards, there was one that I hadn't mentioned apart from the extra damage on the Calamity Blasts and the stun on the Shatterfall. There is also a legendary card called Undying, which below 50% health will make you take 35% less damage, just making you that little bit tankier, and especially as you have such a big health pool. So how do I think they're going to fit in to the meta, and are they going to find their place in the realm? Well, they are going to be extremely effective in holding doorways, halls, corridors, pretty much anywhere that's got a tight, confined area. They're going to be able to block off a lot of the flanking routes and just sit in there and deal with a lot of enemies trying to get through there. Really getting into people's faces and causing havoc, really brawling, and somewhat a bit like Xin does currently in the game. And the single hit with the axe is 700, and that is pretty massive, even though you're going to be only swinging every almost 1 second just over that. Where this champion will be tested is at range. The Calamity Blast is going to help with only a 2-second cooldown, but it also means he's going to struggle to have too much of an impact if he's sitting on a point as a solo tank, or standing in for the other tank that's gone down, or if the healer can't survive whilst on the point. They're not going to be able to do as much as the other champions would, like the Torvald got buffed to have range because of some of those problems. Not only that, but the big cooldown on their escape may hold them back a little bit when you want to chase down an opponent on low health, or even just generally close the gap so you can actually do some melee damage to the enemies and start swinging around that big axe of yours. However, with the absorption and basically +1 Andro reversal, just a better version of Androxus reversal in quite a few ways, just because you can store it, you don't necessarily have to fire it straight away, will be able to engage as long as they can charge up their alternate fire, having a pretty huge impact with some strong burst potential right there, especially with extra 500 damage. You're doing almost 1,750 damage with a full blast if you have your Calamity Blast fully charged up. Also, his ultimate is going to be one of the big ultimates in the game, and maybe make him a bit of an overtime king. So coming in and getting a blast as strong as some of the big ults like Bomb King and Sky, whilst also bringing back to full health and being a character that is fundamentally effective in close quarters with the small parameters of a point, you're likely to be able to win that point fight after you come back again and that blast has gone off, unless people have been able to get away and hide behind shields and things, but it's still going to have a huge impact, I think. As always, we'll see how they play out in the public test server, and as long as nothing is broken, I'll hopefully see you later there tonight on a stream, so be ready for that. So what does everybody else think of what they've seen of Terminus? Are you excited? And how do you think they will perform? Will they be able to carve out a place in the metagame with a battle axe? Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more of my content, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Joshino.